The Big Whack presents Buffalo on the Rise, sponsored by Dr. Kaplansky Dental Implants. Get new permanent teeth in 24 hours with our exclusive Teeth Now process. Welcome to the television show devoted to local business, Buffalo on the Rise, with your host, Joe Chili. There's an entrepreneurial spirit in Western New York that's putting our area on the cusp of greatness. Each week, Buffalo on the Rise features local business leaders and decision makers who are shaping our future. If it's about local business, we'll talk about it right here, right now, during Buffalo on the Rise.
I'm Joe Chili on this edition of The Big Whack presents Buffalo on the Rise. Do you have old home movies, tapes, and slides that need to be digitally converted? The folks from Key Video share how your treasured memories can last a lifetime. Is chronic pain impacting your life? Tried everything to feel better, but without results? You might need the expert care from Buffalo Advanced Medical Acupuncture. Then, are you or a loved one veteran who needs transportation for medical care or services? Find out how you can get a ride and how you can help veterans and their families. All on this edition of The Big Whack presents Buffalo on the Rise. Hi, I'm Joe Chili, mornings from 7 to 9 on Buffalo's oldie station, The Big Whack. Joining us on The Big Whack Buffalo on the Rise today is Ben Fantaski, who's the owner of Key Productions Incorporated. Ben, how you doing?
Nice to see you, Joe. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad to have you here. You know, a lot of interesting things, and I know that I've worked with your company before, very professional group. But tell us about Key Productions.
So we're going to jump on the timeline here and go back to 1985 when my dad started the company in our garage. I was 7 years old, right? And that was our humble beginnings. And we draw from that now in 2024 because a lot of those lessons learned back in those days are still applicable today. What we do is we're a television production company. We do television commercials, corporate videos, training, safety, insurance videos, anything to tell a story and for your business. Now for your life events, the company actually started off doing wedding videos, and we did over 400 in 1990. Now Dad had 14 people working for him at that time.
Wow.
So we were more or less a wedding mill. And in those early days, coming up with, the stories and just documenting the memories, and whether it was the weddings or the graduations or the bat mitzvahs, we were giving those on VHS tape. That was the deliverable. And at that time, right around going down the timeline of technology, if you will, we got into DVDs, and then we got into different formats like high 8s and mini DV, VHS, and even super 8 film, regular 8, 16 millimeter. So we've seen a transition throughout technology as we've come along. So today, one of the things that we do at Key Productions is video transfers, digital conversions of those analog formats. It's a huge thing that really took off in 2020 when I took over the company, and it was really a saving grace because at that time, as we all know, during that time, the phone wasn't ringing, people were working from home, and fortunately for us, that one thing was people were bringing in their tapes and trying to go back to a better time and just really plugging into converting these analog formats to a digital MP4 USB, plug it in the computer, watch it on the TV, and just relive those memories again.
I think that's interesting because my kids are 35, 39 years of age, and I don't think they've seen a lot of videos of them when they were young. I probably still have them. But, at one time you'd play them off your camera itself, you'd plug it into the back of your TV, you'd have a VCR that I don't know that anybody has any longer or whatever,
There are people.
Are there still people
who have them? There are
people,
and those are special people who have that pristine VHS tape player, and they just, they hold on to these. They have them in their top dresser drawer, the back of their closet, and they take really good care of those cassettes, but at the same time, you may be thinking you're doing yourself a service, but you know, if you got it in the hot attic or the cool, damp basement, depending on where you're storing these, unless they're in your top dresser drawer, your sock drawer, you know, you really need to update those and get them to a current format.
Well, you know, at one point thinking that it may go from my wife's underwear drawer to your father's garage to something that's coming back to me. But what about the turnaround time for something like this? If people want it done and they're thinking about the holidays or whatever? 'Tis
the season, right? Because we're coming into the holidays and everybody has the idea to come at the 11th hour and can you get this for me? And the truth of the matter is it's a real-time transfer, right? So if you're starting with a 6-hour VHS tape of old Bills Super Bowl losses, you know, that you want to get transferred to that USB, it takes 6 hours to do that, right?
Oh,
and then
okay,
on top of that, you have to, a 2-step process is what we do. If you want to stop at that process of going to a DVD, we can stop there, and a lot of people choose that, believe it or not, but most people, 95% of the people, end up taking that second step to a digital conversion where it's on a USB. So it's an MP4 file on a USB, and they can upload that to Dropbox, Vimeo. You're able to house that on YouTube, or you know, you're able to email that to your cousin in California. You know, once it's there, it's hard to do that with DVDs and or VHSs, you know.
And it's much better to work locally with you than shipping this off to somebody you don't even know to have it done, right?
I mean, you're rolling the dice there, you know, having our facility in Cheektowaga, we're local, turnaround time. Generally speaking, turnaround time is 24 to 48 hours for us. But as we get to the holidays, it can, you know, it's kind of like going to the deli, right?
Yeah.
Where you're like, you're next in line, you know, so first come, first serve, we'll get you in, we'll get you out.
And the other thing is suppose somebody wants something done where we've all seen through the years by Kenny Rogers in the background and different, you know, dissolves and different eras and things like that when people have a video put together. Do you do things like that too? Like, you know, specific presentations with different videos combined?
Well, I mean, you have to start with the least common denominator. So if you have all these old formats, you need to have it on a digital conversion to be able to import that into a computer and an editing system to be able to manipulate that and create something new. You can't do that with VHS. You can't.
Gotcha.
DVD, it's kind of that least common denominator, gets it all speaking the same language, and then we can roll from there.
Speaking of the same language, in the event people want to contact you, they want to have this done, they need some more information, what should they do?
Check us out, keyvideo.com. Fill out the web submission. It's an easy process. Give us your first name, last name, telephone number, emails already attached there, and just kind of give us a little bit of background on the project that you're wanting us to help you out with. You can also call us at 716-884-5391. I can walk you through the whole process, or one of our other employees can do that, and it's pretty simple. I mean, you just have to do it. You got to go to the closet, you got to go to the sock drawer or wherever,
make
and
a
just
commitment.
Bring it all in. And if you have a ton of it, I mean, sometimes people are piecemealing that with their long game in mind, where it's like, okay, I might need a terabyte drive for all of this information, but that's going to be a huge number because you took a ton of footage, you know, of the kids growing up. You don't want to lose that. You want to piecemeal it, get it done. Step by step, we'll take care of you.
Ben Fantasky from Key Productions Incorporated, we appreciate your being here today. Key Video Productions, 2727 Harlem Road in Buffalo. Phone number 716-884-5391, www.keyvideo.com. Sponsorship and promotional consideration for the preceding segment was provided by Key Video Productions. Hi, I'm Joe Chili, mornings from 7 to 9 at Buffalo's oldie station, The Big Wack. Joining us on The Big Wack Buffalo on the Rise today is Jonathan McDonald. Jonathan is from BAM Acupuncture, and I want to spell this out. It's Buffalo Advanced Medical Acupuncture. Jonathan, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Joe?
I'm doing very well, thank you. You and I have got some history. We've gone back. You've helped me out with some problems that I've had. My shoulder after my bicycle accident. Had some very good results from that. Tell us about BAM acupuncture, and we're also talking about integrative health. So I want you to kind of describe what that is and how BAM kind of is set apart from some of the other places in the area.
Good question. So that is what makes BAM unique, or one of the things that makes us unique, is we do definitely specialize in acupuncture, and that does a lot of our heavy lifting. But we take that, that ancient wisdom of acupuncture, and we're going to blend in more modern integrative techniques. And really what that allows us to do is handle some more complicated cases. One of the things that we specialize in, or the thing that we do specialize in, is we take on cases that tend not to respond to more conventional Western treatments. So taking that multifaceted approach is really one of the keys that allows us to do that.
So would I be incorrect in saying that people might come to you as a last resort?
I get that all the time. I've been doing this a long time, for 20 years. That's kind of been the theme since I started my practice. I don't know, I guess it's not the most appealing idea to have somebody stick needles in you. That might be the thing that kind of makes people kind of set back, but I also think there's some nostalgia around it. People think, like, does it really work, and that kind of thing. So I will often get people in that they've tried everything, and it's often like, if you can't fix me, there's no hope for me.
Well, and you make the comment, to stick needles, in you, or whatever the case may be. Tell us, though, about your background, your training. You were trained overseas, right, in the Far East?
Yeah, actually, originally I had more of a Western background. I worked in physical therapy gyms for, in my early 20s. Then I had some exposure to acupuncture. I actually had some patients that weren't quite getting the results that we were looking for. And they wouldn't take no for an answer, so they kind of went and sought alternative treatments. And to see the difference in those patients with acupuncture is really when I thought, like, hey, I should be doing that, But yeah, then I went to school formally here, but then as part of that, I did study abroad over in China for a couple months in the hospitals over there.
It's kind of interesting to me because you talk about acupuncture, which I consider like old world kind of in my mind. Then you talk integrative health, which I consider something to be a modern approach. And to blend those things together, you'd think they'd be like this.
You would think that. And I gained a lot of things from studying Eastern medicine in China, where it was originally developed and crafted still to this day. And I do think I had kind of that misconception coming from the West going there, that, it's all purely holistic and they do things, just strictly more traditional. It was quite different. You go to those traditional hospitals and whatever works, they're using it. So that's kind of the approach I brought back from there. If something works and it's efficable and it's not going to cause any harm, we're definitely going to use it if it's going to help, treat something that might be untreatable otherwise.
I hate to use this term, but sometimes people kind of feel like they're on a medical roller coaster.
Absolutely.
Because of the ups and downs. Good a little bit, bad a little bit, got to go back. The original treatment was okay to a point, but now you have to come back for more and more and more. What's the end, and what's the end result, and how do you get around that?
Yeah, and that's often what we see is just patients who are on a carousel of specialist after specialist. What I would say to somebody who's been on that roller coaster of, not getting the results they're looking for, don't give up hope yet. Give us a shot. We specialize in these complex conditions, so we're going to take more of a holistic approach. We're going to do a very thorough health exam with you. And really what that lets us do is make some of these connections that maybe a more compartmentalized specialist approach might miss. So that's part of the key to helping some of these people with conditions like peripheral neuropathy, post-surgical pain. We've been getting a lot of that lately. Long COVID is another thing that's been popping up over the last year or two. So yeah, that really is the key to help us give hope to where some people, they just feel hopeless.
It's kind of amazes me because when you think about acupuncture and things like that, you think about traditional things that it would help. Things that have been around forever, you know what I mean? Back pain or whatever it might be, migraines, things like this. But to think that it can transform into today and help with COVID or long-term COVID, that some people, it just doesn't seem like they have an answer to, you know what I mean? So this can give you some real hope, right?
That is one of the things I love about what I do. One of the things that was kind of instilled in my brain when I went there, You know, patients come in and they can be very complicated and you can get lost in that, but it's always been honed in me, and the way I was trained and the way I practice is you just look at what's in front of you. Always go back to the basics, you know. While conditions change, diseases change, our modern society changes, we're still the same flesh and blood. You know, so you apply these basic fundamental principles, and it still applies today. It's amazing. Yeah, a lot of wisdom back then, I guess.
Something that I thought was interesting too, that you brought up to me, is the fact that, you know, when somebody walks in, they go, "Oh, you're normal,"
Yeah.
you know, because they think a little bit that there's a hocus pocus type thing to it. So I think that that's good. What should people do? I mean, we're in our final, you know, minute or so. If people want to come in and talk to you, can they talk to you? And will you tell them in the event that you can't help them, or you can?
Yeah, the first step to becoming a patient is really picking up the phone, making that call, set up that initial consultation with me. We like to gather as much information as we can from you. I'll review that, and then, yeah, we will definitely sit down and have a conversation. I see a lot of people that have been to specialist after specialist. I want you to know that you will be heard. You know, I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to try to come up with a solution for what you want. You know, I'm not going to impose, like, this is what I do and this is what I can do for you. So we also, I mean, we have to make sure that we're on the same ground, right? Like, we both are heading in the same direction. So sitting down, coming up with a comprehensive plan, and really following that plan is
not a cookie cutter approach. All right, Buffalo Advanced Medical Acupuncture. For more information, 704 Beach Road, correct?
Beach Road, you got it.
704 Beach Road in Cheektowaga. Phone number 716-632-2207, and a website, www.bamacupuncture.com. Sponsorship and promotional consideration for the preceding segment was provided by Buffalo Advanced Medical Acupuncture. Hi, I'm Joe Chili, mornings from 7 to 9 on Buffalo's oldie station, The Big Weck. Joining us on The Big Weck Buffalo on the Rise today is Madeline Meline, who is the DAV Transportation Coordinator, Hospital Service Coordinator at the Buffalo VA Medical Center. See, I got your entire title in. Wasn't that very nice?
Very nice.
Welcome to the show. Glad to have you here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Let's start with the very basics. You know, for those of us that are not sure, what does DAV stand for?
Disabled American Veterans.
Okay, great. And what areas do you serve? I mean, geographically, or, you know, with veterans themselves? We can look at both areas there.
Well, the DAV is committed to enhancing the life of veterans, that they live a life full of dignity and respect. So they offer many services, and among them is transportation to and from medical appointments at the VA.
You know, I think something that you mentioned to me before we got on the air, and it's very important, that this is staffed by volunteers.
Yes, completely by volunteers.
Completely by volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that you're constantly looking for individuals that can help you in your mission and what you do?
Yes, we are. For example, last month alone, we transported nearly 700 patients.
Wow.
Who made appointments. We are only open Monday through Friday, and we operate roughly from 9 to 12.
All right, and now areas geographically, what do you serve? Is it Erie, Niagara counties? Is it the 8 counties? What
it is Erie and Niagara County.
Okay, Erie and Niagara counties. And 700, did you say?
700.
That's pretty amazing in itself.
Considering it's a very small, time from 9 to 12, we're serving appointments during that time.
And just Monday through Friday.
And just Monday through Friday.
Now, you said 700 veterans. Last month, is that a monthly total? Is that, is that what you would generally serve in a month, do you think?
It's around that. Sometimes it's more. Sometimes it's 800 or 900. That was just last month in October. So, we do make sure that people can make their appointments. So that's very, very important. Otherwise, they would be at home, shut in, perhaps in some cases. These are veterans that can't drive. They don't have transportation. Perhaps they've outlived any family or friends who could bring them in. So it's an important service.
So do we have any kind of demographic? I mean, what are you talking about for age groups for these veterans?
Well, they come in all ages, and to qualify, you only have to be enrolled at the VA. So we are open to everyone. We transport a variety of patients, male, female, younger, older. A lot of our vets are older.
And so I guess, that was what I was thinking of, the fact, whether it is specifically Vietnam era and forward, and, if there are people that are still around from World War II, whatever the case may be, you still have to. And I imagine you hear amazing stories from vets, don't you?
We do. We hear a tremendous amount of information they share with us. They become like family, and they form bonds with the drivers because the drivers see the same ones every week. And it's very heartwarming.
That's kind of good in itself. It was funny because my dad and my uncle were both in the service, and they didn't talk about it until they got older. When we asked them about it, they would kind of glance over it. Then as they got older, of course, we all know that as we get older, our filter kind of goes away.
Right.
Maybe not for you, for me, it does. So, I mean, I guess, you hear about that. But, when you have people come in and they're going through interviews or whatever, what draws them, or maybe even more importantly, what drew you to do something like this?
I was always raised in a family where it was stressed that if you can help, you should help. And who better to help than people who have given and given up so much for their country?
Did you have family members that were in the service?
I did, yes.
Really? Your dad?
My father, my brother, my niece, my sister.
Really?
Yes.
An entire family?
Well, not an entire family, but a lot of us.
What branches?
Navy.
All Navy?
Yes. Well, Navy and Army. I take that back, sorry.
We have an NCIS viewer here. And what about, you talked about the hours of operation. Why are there abbreviated hours? Is it because of staffing?
It is staffing. It's completely staffing, and we're looking to extend the program to 3 o'clock. So we are in dire need of volunteers to come in and work a shift maybe from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
And what about locations? Is it all just the one location?
We operate out of the VA, and we drive anywhere in Erie or Niagara County. And we just need to extend that service. I'd like to double our numbers. I'd like to see us bringing in maybe 1,400 patients a month.
Let me ask you this. When people are driving for the DAV or whatever, do you provide the vehicles?
We provide the vehicles, and in order to drive for the DAV, all you need is a valid driver's license. You need to pass a physical and a hearing test, which we provide at no cost to the volunteer. There is a fingerprinting necessity.
Oh, to vet the individual.
To vet the individual, to make sure that everything is fine. And then everything we provide everything else.
As I got older, I think my wife used to tell me that my hearing got bad. So I went and got my hearing tested. And they just told me I have very selective hearing. Whatever that means. But so in the event that people are looking to give of themselves,
yes.
This is something that they would like to volunteer. Maybe they were in the service themselves. Maybe they had family members that were in the service. What's the first step? What should they do?
Well, of course, being in the military is not a requirement, or having been in the military is not a requirement to be a driver. We do have many drivers who are veterans, but many that are not. The first thing they should do is reach out to me or the Voluntary Services Office at the VA in Buffalo and fill out an application, and then we take it from there.
Madeline Milene, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. For more information for veterans and their families, you can call 716-834-9200 or go to buffalo.va.gov. Sponsorship and promotional consideration for the preceding segment was provided by the Buffalo VA Medical Group.
Thanks for watching this edition of the Big Wack Presents Buffalo on the Rise. For information on this and other shows, go to our website, bigwack.com, and find out how you can participate on the program if you're a hometown business. I'm Joe Chili. Thanks for watching and listening to the Big Wack, Buffalo's oldie station.
The Big Whack presents Buffalo on the Rise was sponsored by Dr. Kaplansky Dental Implants. Get new permanent teeth in 24 hours with our exclusive Teeth Now process.